From Washington, the McLaughlin Group, the American original. For over 2 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk.
If. For such a small word, it packs a wallop. If I live to 100, if Social Security isn't enough, if my heart gets broken, if she says yes. We believe if should never hold you back. If should be managed with a plan that builds on what you already have. Together, we can create a personal safety net, a launching pad for all those brilliant ifs in the middle of life. You can call on our expertise and get guarantees for the if in life. After all, we're MetLife.
We've provided a platform for success for some of the most respected companies in the country. We fueled their growth with a highly educated workforce and a can-do, pro-business attitude. Just ask our trusted business partner, Toyota. Visit Mississippi.org to see what we can do for you.
Issue 1, meddle no more.
The streets of Iran this week overflowed with protesters and violence. The nation is locked in a dangerous and ongoing power struggle. A week ago, Iran completed its presidential election, and President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was declared victor. But a crisis ensued. Ahmadinejad's main rival, Mir Hossein Mousavi, protested. Within 3 hours, hundreds of thousands of his supporters took to Tehran's streets. Their cry? Iran's theocratic regime had stolen the election and awarded the spurious win to Ahmadinejad. The election results were delivered just 3 hours after the polls closed, despite 46 million paper ballots to be counted by hand. The Iranian government dispatched paramilitary forces to quell the demonstration. 15 protesters have reportedly been killed, but Mousavi remains defiant. He is refusing to accept the results. He is calling for peaceful protests, demanding a full recount. President Obama is eyeing the situation, but declines to give an opinion.
So what I've said is, look, it's up to the Iranian people to make a decision. We are not meddling.
At week's end, Iran's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, seemed to settle the matter by pointing to an 11 million margin of Ahmadinejad's win.
Islamic Republic state would not cheat and would not betray the vote of the people. Those who are involved in the election process are aware of this fact, especially when there is 11 million votes difference between two people.
Question is Obama's non-interference, no meddling on either side, neither denying nor confirming the Ahmadinejad win, the right policy for the U.S. in handling Iran's crisis. Yes or no, Pat?
It's not only been correct, it's been very, very presidential. He did exactly the right thing. But we are now reached a point, John, where the Khomeini, the Ayatollah, who initially said the election's over, it's a divine outcome, then he said there may be fraud, now he says the election outcome is final, and he laid down the line. Why Obama is correct is this. They are now, if the demonstrators come out or if the dissidents continue their protest, it is no longer about a corrupt election or a stolen election. It is defiance of the state and nation. That is what the Ayatollah has said. We don't want a bloodbath there. John, thanks to the fact that Obama kept us out of there, for a week, these crowds of patriotic young Iranians have exposed the corruption, the illegitimacy of the regime, and the fact that it is not deeply rooted, certainly in the middle class and the young of the future.
Is Obama sending a signal to the tyrants of the world that it's okay to steal elections?
I would not put it that way. I would say that thank you, Pat Buchanan, for all those compliments for the president, the most I've heard from you expressed in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I totally agree with Mr. Buchanan on this one. Given the history of American involvement in Iran, you don't want to give this regime any excuse to crack down on protesters to say that this is the West the West, the evil West, the outside agitators that are creating this rebellion. I think there are cracks in the regime. I'm not saying any regime is going to fall. This could go on for years, and the president wisely understands that America has national security interests here, and whichever leader prevails, and it looks like it'll probably be Ahmadinejad, their stance about a nuclear program is not going to change all that much.
Couldn't Obama have sent a nuanced signal without being as expressive as Buchanan seemed to think?
Of course, and here I disagree with both Eleanor and Pat, because I think this is a total abdication of American presidential leadership. We have waited 30 years for this moment in Iran, and for the president to come out in such a tepid, weak, and equivocal way when the eyes of the Iranian people are pleading for some sort of statement of moral clarity from this president, as they've struggled under the jackboot of oppression, regardless of what kind of dictatorship they have been under, whether it's this or in the Soviet Union. President Reagan was not afraid to call the enemy what it was. He called it the evil empire, called the Soviet Union such. That did not prevent him from going on and forward and breaking all kinds of arms control deals with Moscow. The same could be done here, and there are a number of very specific things, John, that we could do to encourage the Iranian people to do their own form of regime change.
Is Mousavi as good as he apparently is?
Well, look, I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment that he's still alive even at this point. But first of all, I want to congratulate Pat Buchanan and me and the group actually for last time I was on the show about a month ago, correctly predicting the official outcome of the election in Iran. We all picked the winner on that one. Yeah, but listen, when did the President of the United States become the official certifier of elections worldwide? And can you name me one election in which one American president ever commented on a foreign country whether or not their election result was accurate? Did they ever do that? But I'd like to go back to Monica. I would like to hear more nonsense from Monica about, and say it specifically, the specific words that you would like to hear the President of the United States say about Iran now. I want to hear the specific words, and then tell me what great effect they would have, because this is very funny stuff you're doing.
The United States, well, I'm glad you find it so amusing. We have millions of people pouring into the streets of Tehran who don't find it amusing at all. In fact, on Friday, the New York Times, of all publications, ran a very long piece of somebody inside Iran saying that the American president...
Tell me what the president should say.
She did not interrupt you, Lawrence.
We know what it's like over there. Tell me what the president
you can
should say.
dismiss what I'm saying, but there are a lot of people who are taking their lives in their hands in Tehran, and they are looking for a statement of moral clarity from the president.
Let me give him a nuanced statement. He could say that he hopes the regime will observe the popular will.
Well, that's fine, John. I don't see any problem with that. He could have said that, but let me say this. The problem with what Monica is saying, if Obama had come out and said, we are with those people in the streets, they are
That's
Democratic,
not what I'm saying,
hold
Pat.
it. What would have happened is you would have put the USA stamp on Mousavi. Right. The regime would have been in a fight with Obama rather than a fight with its people. And when the Tiananmen Square occurs, if it occurs, they would have said the Americans were intervening. So you would have discredited it.
Let me join in more politely dismissing what Monica has to say, and that is that you try to do what is in the best interest of the protesters, and making it seem like they are a tool of the West puts them in harm's way, invites bloodshed, doesn't do anything to advance the cause there. Does anybody doubt what side President Obama is on? He is on the side of the popular will. He doesn't have to jam it in their face.
Look,
he struck the exactly right
President
tone.
Obama
the hardliners who wanted to go into Iraq to further democracy are the ones who now want to
Obama said he did not want to meddle, and it's interesting because he's got no problem meddling in Israel, telling them to quit the settlements. But the Iranian government, even though Obama has been neutral, value neutral, he's been value neutral because he says he doesn't want to meddle and give the hardliners ammo. Guess what? The Ayatollah and the mullahs have already attacked the United States for meddling. They're going to attack us no matter what we do. Isn't it about time we give the protesters at least a signal of active concern?
Monica, they know it is not. What the mullahs are saying now, the world knows is not credible. The world knows Obama has stepped back from this, and the world knows they are confronting their own people. Why corrupt this pure movement in the streets by saying, we're with you guys?
Exit question. So with all things considered, has Obama taken the right course or the wrong course with Iran? Pat Buchanan.
Exactly the right course, and so far it has worked. And even if there's a Tiananmen Square, it will have been the right decision because they will not be able to blame it on the United States.
Has he done the same thing with China?
Well, George H.W. Bush sent Scowcroft and Eagleburger over there a couple of weeks after that Tiananmen Square, toasting that guy. I would not send anybody to toast hot to me.
Has Obama taken the same course of action on Tibet?
Obama's been hands off pretty much on Tibet.
Hands off.
And
Yeah.
Darfur.
Well,
Right.
I think you've got to be. What can you do?
Come on.
You don't tell people to rise up when you can't help
What
it.
happened to the exceptionalism of the United States? The exceptionalism,
John,
where is it?
We told the Hungarians through the USIA, rise up and throw the Russians out. The tanks came in. We did nothing.
How did it blow up on George Bush, his predecessor, in 2003?
He called, Buchanan got into the race and gave him a horrible time because of that. There you go.
In the world.
Right.
American exceptionalism can be projected through soft power, public outreach, the kind of words that the president spoke in Cairo. Not at the edge of a gun and not interfering in another country's election processes in a country where they would only give the leadership ammunition to crack down on the protesters. Not what we want.
2 weeks ago in Cairo, President Obama spoke about the virtues of democracy, democratic institutions, freedom as universal values to which we should all strive as human beings. Now he has a providential opportunity to put his money where his mouth is. Support Radio Farda. How about putting in how about affecting
You're the only one taking the opposite side. Let her finish.
How about there is a proposal that has been kicking around Congress for a couple of months now, attracting bipartisan interest to level additional sanctions on Iran in closing off their gasoline spigot. They import 40% of their gasoline.
Right.
Why not squeeze them and affect some sort of
Why?
change that
Who is
way?
behind? With due respect,
rationing.
that proposal, John, with due respect, comes right out of AIPAC, the Israeli lobby.
Come on.
Well, I was
about to say, I agree with Pat Buchanan word for word, except for that last bit. But Pat's completely right on this.
I think it's probably too close to call. Issue 2, paging Dr. Obama.
If we do not fix our healthcare system, America may go the way of GM. Paying more, getting less, and going broke.
He put big political chips this week on health care reform. President Obama called on the health care industry and Congress to ante up big time. Mr. Obama's reform is built on 3 pilings or principles: insurance coverage, doctor choice, and indispensably cost cuts. This week, Obama gave the longest speech of his 150-day presidency. He gave the speech before the American Medical Association, the vaunted AMA. This was a surprise, since 15 years ago, the AMA was instrumental in zapping health care reform, the Hillary version. Now the AMA and the health industry, in general, supports reform. But members want to hear more about a key feature of Obamacare, namely the president's call for a taxpayer underwritten public health insurance program. Obama wants to insure the 45 million who don't have health coverage.
What I am trying to do, and what a public option will help do, is put affordable health care within reach for millions of Americans.
As for cost, Obama has said that health care reform is entitlement reform, meaning that it will save money on the cost of Medicare and Medicaid. But the president also says he will use savings from Medicare and Medicaid over 10 years to pay for coverage for tens of millions of people. Some Republicans and others see the contradiction in Obama's plan and also view it as socialized medicine.
It will be the first step in destroying the best health care system the world has ever known.
If the government is in the insurance business, there won't be any other insurers.
Question: what is Obama's primary objective in seeking health care reform? Is it to contain costs, or is it to expand coverage? I ask you on a clip.
Well, first of all, those 2 Dr. Dowers you had on there would be against whatever the president proposed. Look, the administration...
There were some Democrats who are opposed to it, silently.
Well, they're opposed to the public option because some of them get a lot of money from insurance interests, and the public option
foul motive,
is
right?
There's a little foul motive there, and they think it's a Trojan horse. It's a, it's will eventually lead to a complete public takeover.
Please continue with your
but
point.
look, he is framing this as a way to cut costs, because the path we're on now is unsustainable. And it would be a nice added benefit if he could include some of the almost 50 million people who are uninsured. Those are lots of new customers for the private insurers. But they won't want all of these people, because some of them are poor, some of them have pre-existing conditions, and so they really do need some sort of government-run option to subsidize them and take care of them. And so I imagine they'll find a way to have it, and they may not call it government-run. They're looking at language that calls it a co-op or something like that. But this is a legislative process that is still in its infancy.
Monica?
Well, I think one of the reasons why healthcare seems to be blowing up this week is because the Congressional Budget Office, which is a nonpartisan organization, crunched the numbers, and they came up with $1.6 trillion over the next 10 years, but it would only insure 1/3 of that number who are currently uninsured, and that the number to cover everybody ultimately would be between $3 and $4 trillion.
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years. So a lot of members of Congress, and in particular a lot of Democrats, including blue dog Democrats who are very worried about the deficit and blowing up the national debt, they're now saying, well, wait a minute, we cannot go down this road of a public option. And the latest I heard is that the Senate draft does exclude the public option, and they're going other ways, like expanding coverage of Medicare.
You see that Tom Daschle, who was supposed to have been his health czar, has withdrawn his support for a public public option.
Monica's exactly right, and they had a big crisis meeting in the White House when these numbers, CBO numbers, came out. Obama was really unsettled by this thing.
Meaning what?
You got $1.6 trillion and only 16 million people covered. He said, what's going on? But the big problems Obama's got is the center of gravity is shifting. The national polls show Americans are much more concerned about the deficit than they ever were. They're over 50% more concerned about that than stimulating the economy. The Republicans have the bit in their teeth. I think the question is going to come down to, and Lawrence can talk to this, whether Obama goes for pieces of what he wants or whether he tries to go whole hog and this baby goes down just like Hillary Care.
On this 45 million figure, while it is true that they don't have insurance, it doesn't mean that they're without medical care.
Exactly.
If you go to an emergency ward, they're not going to ask you for your insurance if you're just in a motorcycle accident or something like that.
Oh, they ask for it. And then,
well, they eventually do, but you're not deprived of care. So if you've got a system that now currently works, why do you want to change it? Why do you want to go run the risk of it?
Well, you know, it does come from the two elements that you raised in the introduction, which is the expansion of coverage to people who are uninsured and the containment of costs. This has been a very, very bad week for healthcare reform. Monica's right. The CBO estimates have been devastating.
What is that?
It's changed the schedule of what they're doing up there. The Finance Committee, where I used to work and I was working on it when Hillary was trying to get her bill through, in an unprecedented move, had to reschedule the introduction of their bill because they discovered it just wasn't ready at all.
You see that interview with the head of the CBO? He says it's going to be a long, hard
slog. The CBO's job, the Congressional Budget Office job, is to tell you how much it will cost and how it will work. They evaluate the actual, the likely functioning of this thing, and that's where a lot of bad news resides beyond just the cost estimates.
Where do you come down?
Well, right now it feels like Obama, if this was the NBA playoffs, Obama's down 1-0.
That means no health care this year?
No, meaning we've got many more games to play and we'll know.
What is it going to be? The big one or a
I think we'll know
one?
but the first week of August we'll know what's going to happen.
What's the small one?
He will compromise anything to get something.
Some expansion of care, especially down below people eligible for Medicare, and some expansion for kids' care up.
All right, we got to get out.
But Rahm Emanuel and Obama have made it very clear they are going to compromise in whatever degree they have to get a bill. That was something the Clintons were not willing to do.
Exit question. During the 2008 presidential campaign, Mr. Obama told Joe the plumber he wanted to, quote-unquote, spread the wealth around. Is the Obama policy an example of spreading the wealth around, namely tax middle-class benefits to give coverage to the uninsured? Yes or no, Pat Buchanan?
This is, frankly, it is, as Lawrence has spoken, this is a measure, socialist measure. There's no question about it.
Well, so Medicare and Social Security is socialist too, and people seem to like that. Look, there's been a squeeze on the middle class, and a lot of people are fearful of losing their health insurance. They might be willing to pay a little extra on the gold-plated plans, let the execs pay a little on taxes, maybe a tax on soft drinks, in order to know that you have insurance that can't be taken away.
Obama is going to have to raise taxes to pay for this monstrosity in whatever form it comes in, taxing your benefits or a value-added tax, and that would violate his pledge to not raise taxes on the middle class.
If I'm stuck with the strict confines of your question, yes, this is redistributive.
It is?
Yes, it is. But so is everything government does. It takes tax money from everyone, and benefits go out in different ways.
Tax money from
how does a government plan affect the private insurance industry?
Well, if they have a government plan, as what McConnell says, you have a government program. That's the end of the private insurance.
Well, we have a government plan called Medicare, which has been very good for the insurance industry.
Does this contribute to the impression that Obama is clearly a clear and unmistakable liberal, real liberal?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that America should provide health care in a way that makes sense for most of its citizens. If you want to call that liberal, I think he'd be proud to call it that. But the same
we do have health care. You're talking about insurance.
The more people look at this thing, the more they love the idea, everybody insured, but the more they look at the particulars, the more they recoil from it. That's what happened to Hillary Clinton.
Do we have the best health care system in the world?
Yes, we do, and that's why everybody
why tinker with it?
Wants to
Exactly. Issue 3, Lord of the Flies.
I got the second.
The sucker was an insect, a fly, that was annoying President Obama for 2 swipes before he killed it in his bare hands during an interview on CNBC. The largest animal rights group, get this, in the world is PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. As for its views, a spokesperson for PETA said this, quote, "I guess it can't be said that President Obama wouldn't hurt a fly. He swatted at the insect and killed the little guy instantly. He isn't the Buddha. He is a human being. And human beings have a long way to go before they think, before they act," unquote. With more than 20 million members, PETA works to increase awareness for animal rights through public education, cruelty investigation, animal rescue, legislation, special events, celebrity involvement, and protest campaigns. PETA also uses fly traps that do not kill flies, but rather captures them in order to set them free.
Question, what would the Dalai Lama have done in Obama's place? I ask you, Monica.
The Dalai Lama would have patiently abided the fly, perhaps scooped up the fly, carried it outside, and let it go free. What I find so interesting is that Obama is known for his Zen-like calm, and yet he was pretty brutal in that unceremonious murder of that poor creature.
You think he was trying to be macho?
No, I think,
if he were, what would he have done? He would have consumed the fly.
To answer that, no, you mean eat the fly?
Eat the fly.
No,
if he was too macho.
The fly. No, but what I think it says, on a serious note, Obama doesn't like to lose control in any situation. And when a situation comes to him that he can't feel that he can control, whether it's a fly or the Iranian protest, he reacts.
There you go. Obama's a control freak.
I disagree. There is no serious note in this story. None at all. I completely support the president in this particular engagement.
Yeah, on a serious note, if a fly is after you, most people's instinct would be to swat it away. But I must say, I am interested in getting one of those humane fly catchers because I do have trouble killing a fly in my house. I generally open the door, try to let them out, and others come in. So PETA does good work, but here they're opening themselves up.
Does it say anything about Obama's temperament?
Yeah, he should not have killed the fly. Just declare it an enemy combatant and send it to Guantanamo.
Hey, what do you think those fly traps cost that the PETA distributes?
It's a couple hundred bucks.
Follow the money, Pat.
Listen,
if you're not going to kill flies,
you and I were kids,
and you're going to contain them in a cage,
when you and I were kids, our parents used to unroll
Where did they come from?
That fly paper and all the flies stuck to it, and then you took it out and put it in the garbage.
If PETA is on to a big money-making scheme by selling these humane fly traps, I'd say all the more power to them. I suspect it's not a big seller.
Is Obama thin-skinned?
I think, pardon me, but I thought it was a very reasonable action that the president took in that particular crisis. I thought he handled it well.
Does he want the government in any way to socialize fly control?
No. This was individual initiative, John.
Another initiative?
An individual initiative.
Listen, what, insect control?
No, he did it himself. He didn't wait for the government to come in.
You know what will
come check with advisors.
John, what will come next is a brand new bureaucracy for fly control.
Should we blame the Republicans for this vicious attack on him?
No, I don't think this is going to get his poll ratings down to below 50% like Pat Buchanan just predicted.
Who won the week?
I think the Republicans won the week because of the deficit numbers and Barack Obama's numbers down and the problems with health care. It was not a great week for Barack Obama. I think he's coming down to earth, but on issues he's fallen in some cases below 50%, which is bad news.
How about popularity?
Personally, he's doing fine.
Yes, his personal popularity is higher than his programs because the issues he's taken on are complicated. And when you try to do something, you get people angry. Like
Are the personal numbers vitiated by the position of the American public on some of his programs?
I think issue by issue, his poll numbers are coming down below 50 on the economy, on taxes, on the debt and the deficit. He's got a real problem.
Are the Democrats a little worried?
The Democrats are very, very. This is the first week of extreme worry among the Democrats. Yes.
Good. Wow, I can't improve on that.
Because of the CBO reports on health care.
Predictions, Pat, be quick.
Obama will be below 50% first anniversary of his election.
Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty will do the right thing and seat Al Franken.
Monica.
Oil will be at $90 a barrel by August 1st.
Wow.
Senator-elect Al Franken will be sworn in time to vote for Obama health care reform.
Chrysler will produce a car by the end of 2011 that will exceed 50 miles a gallon and cost less than $5,000. Happy Father's Day. Bye-bye.
They call it a Fiat.
If. For such a small word, it packs a wallop. If I live to 100, if Social Security isn't enough, if my heart gets broken, if she says yes. We believe if should never hold you back. If should be managed with a plan that builds on what you already have. Together, we can create a personal safety net, a launching pad for all those brilliant ifs in the middle of life. You can call on our expertise and get guarantees for the if in life. After all, we're MetLife.
We've provided a platform for success for some of the most respected companies in the country. We fueled their growth with a highly educated workforce and a can-do, pro-business attitude. Just ask our trusted business partner, Toyota. Visit Mississippi.org to see what we can do for you.